I'm going to show you how you can get more views on YouTube using Tubebuddy's A/B split test. Now, of course, I will have a link for that pinned to the top comment, and I'm going to show you some of the biggest keys to leverage it to make sure you're getting more views. But let's jump into it. I'm Jesse with Inspired Video Marketing, where I show you how to build a YouTube-based business. If that's something you're looking to do, subscribe and turn on all notifications. So the first piece of advice I have for you is to actually find some of your best performing videos, and those are the ones that probably are the scariest to run A/B tests on. But usually, when you can find a better thumbnail on a video that's already performing well, those videos will blow up. I'll show you proof of that in a second. But on top of that, I would also look for videos that have a high average view duration. So what I would do is go to your channel dashboard, go to where it says engagement, click see more. Actually, I would go to average view duration first and then click see more. And then from there, it'll pull up your videos and show you which ones are getting a really high average view duration. And what you'd want to do is find ones that are well above your channel average, or just ones that are above your channel average for your average view duration. And then those are often great to run A/B tests on, because YouTube will promote videos that are getting a high click-through rate and high watch time. If you can get both of those videos will often blow up. So let me take you to Tubebuddy and show you how to set up the split test, or the A/B test. So let's go to Tubebuddy. When you're on Tubebuddy, you would want to go to A/B test. Now, keep in mind, this is something you have to have the advanced version of Tubebuddy. I forget what they call it, but it's the highest, it's a paid version and it's the highest version. It is worth it though. That feature alone makes everything in Tubebuddy like worth it for me. I use this probably more than anything. As you can see, I had 20 split tests recently, created, in progress 31, completed is probably, 123. I've done a lot of them. If you want my help with thumbnails individually, I'll have something for you at the end. I can actually help you in person. But that being said, all you want to do is go to create A/B test. And then from there, you can just type in here whatever video you want to run the A/B test on, or you can pick some of your most recent ones that you're seeing at the top here. But you can literally type to search your channel. I know I have a video called Lose the Basketball Again. So I can search for that. Tubebuddy will pull it up. Or again, I can just pick one of these up here. So let's just do that. I'll just pick this top one here. Now, as you'll notice, you can actually run A/B tests on the metadata. This video, I'm gonna focus mainly on the click-through rate for your thumbnails. But one thing to consider is if you are going to run a metadata A/B test, you can change the description, you can change the title, you can change the tags, pretty much anything about the metadata in the video. But if you're changing that, YouTube will be re-indexing where they're gonna show that video. So basically that means YouTube, every time you change it, is gonna look at that video again differently, and it's gonna take them a little while to figure out where to show it in search, what videos to show it as a suggested video next to, and whatnot. So if you're got a video that you're really trying to rank for and it's doing pretty well, you might not want to do that. If it's performing poorly and hasn't done anything for you with ranking or views or anything like that, then you might want to consider doing that. But from there, I'm going to select the thumbnail click-through rate test. And you can either run it for a set number of days, but I just like to run it until it's statistically significant. So that way I know, okay, this video is the better video. And as you can see here, they explain a lot more about why they do things the way they do and how it works. And you can actually learn a lot just by going through this process on Tubebuddy and the information they give you. So I'm gonna select that. I'm gonna click continue. And then it's gonna show on the left side here the original thumbnail that I have on the video. And then here, I'm gonna click choose file. Then I'm gonna find the variation that I created and select that. I'll give you some tips in a second as far as how to create variations that you can hopefully get a better one that will beat the original. But let's do that. Let it upload, boom. So you can see the original, and on the right, I got the variation, and then I click start test. I'm not actually gonna start a test on this because that's not the thumbnail I wanna use. But basically what it'll do then is have the thumbnails go back and forth day after day, and just show you what that would look like. And I'll give you the tips here while I'm at it. You can see, let me take you to one that's completed. You can see on this one that the original shows had a click-through rate of 3.89% and the variation 4.5%. So it seems like it's not that much more, right? It's like less than a full percent. And you might be, well, does that really make a difference? And yes, it does. I'm gonna show you another one in a second that had a pretty significant difference. It was like a full percent, which is big, and it blew up. But you can see right here, it actually says it outperformed the original by 15.78%. So you gotta think about this more in terms of, okay, it's not 1% more. Think about it if you go from 1% to 2%. That means you doubled the amount of clicks you got from the amount of impressions that you got. So basically, think about impressions as every time someone's scrolling through YouTube on the home feed, or if you're watching a video down below, those are called suggested videos. Every time you see a thumbnail and have the chance to click, that's called an impression. Every time someone actually clicks, that's obviously called a click. But if you get 1 out of 100 people to click, that would be a 1% click-through rate. You get 2 out of 100 to click, that's a 2% click-through rate. So think about if you extend that out to 1,000 people, and 1,000 people see that thumbnail. 1 versus 2 is 10 versus 20 views. Now let's say it's 10,000, right? Think about how that's gonna keep stacking up and adding up. And it also has a compounding fact, because if you have a higher click-through rate, YouTube will actually show your video to more people because it's viewed as a better video. I'll show you more proof of that in a second. But 15.7% better by just getting it by less than a actual percent higher in click-through rate. Now the tip I have for you is when you're gonna run an A/B test, there's 2 different ways you can go about it. If you're getting a really bad click-through rate, I would imagine that it's just not a very good thumbnail to begin with, and you might wanna scrap it completely and just try something completely different. But in the instance of this one, it was pretty good, so not great, a little below 4%, which is well below my channel average, but still not terrible. So I decided to go with more of a simple tweak, and that's one thing I want to give you is that word simple. If you notice, all I really did is I eliminated the background. I had 4 of me in this one and 4 of me in this one, and I got rid of the background. Now, come to think of it, now that I'm looking at it again, I might want to run another A/B test and simplify it even more by getting rid of 4 of me and just having 1 of me and maybe the no symbol and leave it at that. Because what I found, and I've run over 100 split tests, you could see before I had like 123 completed, that the simple almost always wins, almost always. Now that's why you want to test to make sure you're finding out. And if you're thinking to yourself right now, well, couldn't I just change the thumbnail and look at my click-through rate for the dates where I changed it versus the dates before I changed it? Yes, but no. The reason you don't want to do that is because I've actually had this happen. There's one video of mine that blew up in the middle of running an A/B test, and the original ended up being the winner. So that means that the variation was not the winner. In fact, let me take you to that video. So you can see this video right here. The first one was a little simpler and it performed better, but during running that A/B test, the video was blowing up. And so that obviously means that it wasn't the variation that made it blow up or having a better click-through rate. It just happened to blow up because it's called 10 things coaches hate. And basketball tryouts were coming up within a couple weeks for a lot of players. So a lot of players were looking for that solution, and there was a higher chance people would click in general, so that video blew up because of that. So if you have a video that you changed the thumbnail and it just happened to be number 1, that's one example, maybe a certain time of the year where people are interested in that topic a little bit more, then your click-through rate's gonna go up just because of the time of year it is, not necessarily that it's a better thumbnail. But the other instance is a lot of times YouTube's testing your videos as a suggested video on other videos and seeing where it'll perform best. Same thing in search results. And if they find an audience that it just happens to work well with, and your click-through rate goes up because of that, again, you might think you have a better thumbnail, but you might not. You might be missing out on a lot of views. Now, let me show you an example of a video that got a higher click-through rate and blew up because of it. Like I told you, if you can get a higher click-through rate, your videos will typically perform better. So here's one of them. As you can see, I had it flipped around because I somehow got them saved backwards. So the original is actually the variation, but the variation, as you can see, is 8.5% click-through rate, and the original, even though it says it's the variation, was at 7% click-through rate. So a percent and a half, which is big. And as you can see, again, it was a little bit simpler thumbnail. Here's one more example, and then I'll show you the analytics for those videos for the views. This one here's the other variation, and that one outperformed the original by 1.2%. So it doesn't, again, seem like significant, but it is. And as you can see, I just changed it to a little bit easier to see, more graphic type of a basketball hoop instead of an actual picture. It doesn't have all these little shiny marks on it. Like, you know, it's a little bit simpler to see on this one. It's more of a matte finish, more flat color profile, and the background also, you'll notice, is just white, right? Simpler. This one has more bricks behind it and just a little bit more stuff going on. It's harder to take in, especially when you think about shrinking these things down to a small mobile device. So let me take you to my analytics for my channel, Get Handles Basketball. So check it out. This is what happened to this video since uploaded. Right now, it's getting more views, well, not at this day, more views than when it first uploaded. Actually, it is than the very first day. But as you can see, it had a nice little surge near the beginning, but right here, it blew up. Well, what happened? I had just about a week before that, maybe 2, found a thumbnail that performed better. It was like right around here that I had been done with the A/B test. And basically how the A/B test works is one day it'll show one thumbnail, the original, and then the next day it'll show the variation, and then the original, and then the variation, until Tubebuddy finds which one has the higher click-through rate. If you're doing until statistically significant, not the date range. But it was right around here that the winner was determined. And about a week later, YouTube got keen on, oh, more people are watching this video because it wasn't going back and forth, and you know, it was kind of hard for YouTube to tell if it was actually a better video. So at that point, it had been long enough that the variation that was getting a higher click-through rate had been around, and YouTube took notice. And as you can see, it absolutely blew up. Way more views than it was originally getting. Now, here's the other one. I'll show you the other one. What you should aim for on layups. So let's look at that one for lifetime. And as you can see on this one, it was right around here that I found the winner, and it had a nice little bump there already. A little one though, nothing too astronomical. And then I had a pretty big surge here, and look at what it's doing now. By far crushing what it did when it was uploading, because I found a better thumbnail. Now, if you want me to help you with your thumbnails, I will link pinned to the top comment where I can give you some individual feedback and help you come up with better thumbnails and know what to A/B test. And again, I will have the link for Tubebuddy down there. But beyond this, my biggest piece of advice to come up with better thumbnails is to come up with better topics. I covered that in this YouTube video. Subscribe and turn on all notifications to catch the newest videos, and I'll see you in that video next.